Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. We're here today with a special guest. But before we go and get into our special guest, I would like to welcome you all back. My name is Oksana Davydova. I'm here with my co-host, Margarita Moshe.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a very, very special guest that I'm personally very excited for because it's right along my realm.
It's a good realm.
It's a good realm. I find it very interesting. I'd like to introduce Steve Polyakov. He sent me his bio about all the things that he does, and I don't want to shortcut anything, so I'm going to actually read all the things that he does because it's quite extensive. He's partner and chair of the firm's healthcare and pharmacy practice. He has a depth of experience with entrepreneurial focus, advises medical-based healthcare pharmacy clients on transactional issues, regulatory issues, litigation issues. He teaches also healthcare law classes for hospital residents and fellows. I've done actually the same. And has taught contract law courses at NYU. He has provided pro bono assistance to startup companies through New York's Business Solutions program as well. Wow.
Take a breath. My goodness. I have to run that through AI and really slim it down.
Yeah. It's a lot, but this is a lot. It's a lot. You do so much, and it's so a lot of the things that you do are so important and so current with what's happening in our medical healthcare landscape right now. So this is all very interesting to me.
Can I just tie in one little thing that I mentioned? So I'm a partner chair at Tarter, Krinsky & Drogan, a phenomenal law firm.
Absolutely.
Just that part. But terrific law firm that I'm very privileged to be a partner in.
And how long have you been there?
So I have an interesting situation where I was there from 2021. Before that, I ran my own firm for about 8 years. And I got the bite and the attractive caught the eye of a very large law firm with a very large healthcare practice. They had 200 plus healthcare attorneys alone, which was phenomenal across the country. It's 1,200 lawyers, and it was very flattering for a New York law school B+ grad to be invited to join a big law firm. And so it was a bittersweet moment when I told the head of our firm, Alan Tarter, that I'm sorry, I have to follow this opportunity. Plus, they had a beautiful office in Miami. I was trying to move my family to Miami at the time.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, and so I went there for about 2 years, and then realized the big law life was not for me. I really missed the mid-sized firm kind of operations and the way they ran things, and so Alan Tarter was again gracious enough to invite me out to lunch and said, "So are you ready?" And at that point, I was ready. So I had come back. So that was May of last year. So cumulatively, I guess I'm at 3.5 years, around 3 years. But like I told Alan, that's the place where as long as I'm practicing law, I'm going to be at this firm.
Oh, so that's your permanent home.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, amazing. That's great. So you said you went from having your own firm and practicing on your own for a while and moving back into working in a firm, a different firm. What made you make that switch?
So I had a very interesting, I don't know if you've ever seen those memes where it's you think your career is like this, but it's actually like that.
And this way.
Yeah,
exactly.
We talk about it every day.
Exactly. So I'm a Soviet refugee immigrant. So my grandfather back in the Soviet Union I'm going way too far back, but my grandfather in the Soviet
we want to hear it all. Start from the
beginning. The JAG equivalent of the Communist Party, right? So he was the prosecutor of people breaking military code and all that stuff. So he was an attorney, right? And when I came here, it was I don't know, kind of watching all the TV shows. I'm I want to be a lawyer. And at around 16 years old, I started walking around my neighborhood, which was in South Brooklyn, knocking on doors to see if anybody would hire me. And personal injury law firm graciously gave me an opportunity to put papers in folders. And I got really bored of putting papers in folders, and I'm how are you guys keeping track of all your clients? They're oh, we're just kind of have an Excel spreadsheet. I'm yeah.
Would you believe it if I told you the lawyers are still using an Excel spreadsheet?
I would 100% believe you. But I had then I built the firm a Microsoft Access database. So at least clients are linked, and it was somewhat of a CRM system. And then he just let me take charge of all the IT and then less putting paper in folder. And then, started doing paralegal work, calling up insurance adjusters, doing client intake and all that stuff. So that was from 16 to around 20, I guess. And I was 20. And then, whatever happened in that firm made me realize I did not want to be a lawyer.
Wow, it was not a good experience.
It was a great experience. Don't get me wrong. I had a blast, but like it was not at the time. I didn't think it's what I wanted to do in my life. So my undergraduate focus was in computer science and economics. So I double majored. I went to work at my university. I did the IT for the applied psychology department. And then, I got kind of recruited my junior year of college to go work at Citigroup as an IT analyst. So I was at Citigroup from 2004 to 2012. Wow. And when I left, I was VP of marketing and strategy.
Wow.
I had like 6 analysts reporting to me. So I had a good job.
Yeah.
But like that law bug, like I saw the other side of law. So I was doing a lot of vendor management. So a lot of the corporate world, like dealing with contracts. And then I got invited to like, on the business side as the client, I was sitting in the Proskauer offices, the Skadden offices, and they're kissing my ass because I'm the client. And I'm like, this is so cool. I want to do this. And, I didn't want to be a corporate clog, if you will. I wanted to work for myself one day. And like, that immigrant mentality, you got to run your own business. And my mom is always like, you have to run your own business. You have to run your own business. You can't rely on anybody. You have to only rely on yourself. And I'm like, all right, great. So
that is the Soviet mentality.
That is
for
the
sure.
Soviet mentality, exactly. And so I went to law school, and law school was, I kind of like, I had a good position. I had good money. Like I had a nice 6-figure salary. And I told my bosses, hey guys, I'd like to go to law school. So let's work out a deal. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? There's no deal. This is not, we don't need you as a lawyer. I'm like, all right, so I'm going either way. So either we work something out or I'm out. So we worked out that I would work, law school is full-time. My role at Citi was, it was part-time. It's 20 hours a week, 12 hours in office, 8 hours remote. And I was at 388 Greenwich, and I went to New York Law School, which was like around the corner almost. And so, do a presentation, go to library study, go to class, go work on an Excel spreadsheet, like, like back and forth. So that was all 3 years of law school.
Multitasking, everything.
Yes.
Did you find it challenging?
Yeah.
Given that you've been out of the, the educational system for so long, and then having to go back after having a 6-figure salary, like, what did you ever think, like, what the hell am I doing?
Many times. Many times.
As most of us probably have.
Yeah, and like especially in law school, which is very different than undergrad, and I was so far removed from undergrad, so like going back into it. Plus, like when I went to undergrad, like the students were a little bit younger than me, and so first time I walk into a law school classroom, I'm with pen and paper, ready to take notes and textbook. Everyone has laptops open, and I'm like, oh, I need to get a laptop. And then like everyone's like on Facebook Messenger or Google Messenger. And then I'm like, well, I want, then you want part of social. So you kind of like zone out what's going on there. Yeah. So that was something I was not used to. Because when I was in college, nobody had a computer in the classroom. Yeah. That wasn't the thing you did. So
yeah, it was all pen and paper.
It was all pen and paper.
It's so interesting you say that. I remember I had one law school professor that did not allow laptops. I think half the kids had a heart attack because like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's called a pen and a paper. You just start writing. But he was like pushing 80, I believe. But he was right. And I'll tell you why. And I think, and I'm from a believer, you pay attention more when you have no other distractions.
Yes, by definition. And also, my memory works better when I write things down.
Yeah,
like that memory, like I still write things down.
And you remember them.
And I remember.
Better, yes.
Yeah. Where was it? Yeah. So coming out of law school, they're like, listen, we want you to work in the IP department. You're a lawyer now. I'm like, no. I want to work for myself. I want to learn how to practice law, not be a corporate clog. So I'm like, wow. I'm hot stuff. I come out from Citi, VP of marketing and strategy. Any law firm would love to have me.
Yeah.
They would throw, nobody cared. Like zero.
No.
I love that you said that because you know what? Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
About anything.
No.
You have to show them,
Correct.
Not tell them.
Well, even showing, like resume is
great. But you're
great.
so marketable at this point.
But
apparently not.
But you didn't have a legal background. You were marketable with regards to.
Correct. Well, I have the client background on the business side of how to push deals to the end and like.
It's very attractive.
Yeah. Apparently not. So the only job I was able to land was through a friend at a small healthcare and pharmacy firm. So, I mean, you could look it up in my bio. It's not like a secret, but and I was very grateful for the opportunity. The money was less than I was making part-time at Citi, less than I was and you can imagine like working crazy hours at a small firm, especially because you guys work on contingency. This was billable, right? So you got to bill, and you got to learn, and then you got to, clients. You're only as good as what the client's willing to pay. So that's the amount of hours you work, right? It doesn't matter how much you work for; it matters what they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
And so, I put in crazy hours there for very little money, like less than I was making realistically 20 hours a week working at Citigroup. But I treated it like my residency, and I needed to learn. Like doctors also make very little when they get out.
Yeah.
We are doctors of law, if you will.
Now we do our residencies.
Exactly. So yeah, and the partner, the owner of the firm's like, you want more money? I'm like, yes, please. He's like, you got to go out and get cases. I'm like, well, how do I do that? It's like, figure it out.
That's a good one.
All right. So I'm fairly a social individual. So I went to meetups. I went to random networking things where you just hand out business cards and, people, you just come out with a stack of business cards and okay, well, now what do I do? Just sit there, stare at the phone? That doesn't work. As you guys, I'm sure, are well aware. You gotta really make connections with people.
Exactly.
So one of the folks that I was meeting with, again, exchange business, another attorney, PI, is like, you should try something called BNI, which is, I don't know if you guys are familiar at all.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so it's
a networking organization.
It's a global networking organization broken down by region, country, state, city, chapter. Each chapter has one member. You can't compete with any other member. So I was in a chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I was a healthcare attorney. There was a business attorney. There was a plumber. There was a dentist. And there was all these things. And I started to generate revenue. I started to be able to get clients in through that network. And then that network had a business attorney. And that business attorney, I helped him out with something or other. And then he invites me to dinner with his partner. And they are trying to expand, also younger. The firm's been around for 3 years. And they're like, we'd really like for you to join us. So at that time, I was at the 2-year mark where I kind of had enough of being an associate. I kind of felt like I was ready to go on my own. I was trying to build my own website because it was ready to take that step. And then this opportunity comes up. So I bought in as a partner in a young firm. It was 3 of us and several interns. And we were just trying to take whoever was paying the bills. A lot of commercial litigation cases. I was continuing the healthcare and pharmacy route, marketing again, doing BNI, doing other networking groups that works, and slowly and surely started building. We were doing a lot of, so my partner's one was Italian, born in the US, but taken away when he was still young to Italy and then came back as a teenager. So he had both the American and Italian, not Italian American, as we used to joke around oh, I'm walking over here. None of that. He was very prim and proper, buongiorno, and we're still friends. And we got the attention of an Italian law firm. SAPG Legal was called. So we merged together and we had 6 offices. My partners moved out one moved to Miami, one moved to Cincinnati, and we were kind of growing, from that perspective. So I was running the New York office. And it was great. Everything was fantastic, going to Italy 3 times a year, shaking hands, kissing babies there. It was fantastic. Went to their weddings, beautiful, amazing time in my life. Absolutely phenomenal. And then COVID came. And during COVID, so we grew it. We had associates. We had a lot of people working for us. And, we could pay what a small firm was paying. And so people had epiphanies that 1, they didn't want to be lawyers anymore. 2, they didn't want to be stuck in their tiny apartment. So they moved across seas, moved out, and so times got a little rough.
Yeah.
As we were coming out of it, 2021, and things were back on track. I was, business was growing again. And then Alan Tarter invites me to lunch. And he's like, and I'm like, who am I to turn down a conversation? So I'm thinking he wants to get a referral relationship going, right? He'll send me cases, I'll send him cases. He'll have a healthcare practice. And he's like, no, I actually want you to run our healthcare practice. I want you to take all your clients along with you. And here's what I can do for you. You don't have to worry about IT. You don't have to worry about HR. You don't have to worry about payroll. You don't have to worry about, we have all that covered.
Hire me?
There you go. No, maybe. I don't know.
I don't have to worry about anything.
She was saying that HR and payroll is so long, so tedious.
Dealing with the landlord, all these things.
Practice law.
Correct. So he's like, you just practice law and do your own marketing. And then you'll be a partner and the rest, as they say, is history. And that's how I find myself where I am today.
Wow. That's
Hopefully that
amazing.
wasn't too boring.
Amazing. No, it's actually not. I really enjoy listening
My
to it.
question would be like, you came from corporate banks
Yes.
to how did you, I mean, I understand, you got a job and you're like, let me give this a try, but how did you find healthcare law from corporate things?
So none of the corporate law firms wanted me. I sent out, I done countless resumes, just no bites at all. But I had a friend who was a pharmacist, and the manager of her pharmacy was the brother of the partner at this firm. And literally just like that, nothing special, no special knowledge, no knowledge at all. Then lots of knowledge now. So that is how that connection was made. I mean, literally just random anybody. I was like, will legal for food, like one of those things.
I know no knowledge at all, but I mean, you dealt with contracts, right?
Sure.
For a while. I mean, healthcare contracts, yes, they're a little different in terms of verbiage, but a contract at the end of the day is a contract.
Well, okay, it's not just verbiage, right? It's back to law school issue spotting.
Yeah.
There are certain issues
Yes.
that apply, certain issues that don't, right? So yes, I'm in my BNI, I was marketing myself more as a business attorney, right? Just business law. I can handle most contracts, but I'd like to focus on the healthcare because there's a lot of business lawyers. There's not a lot of healthcare lawyers.
Right.
So I can swim in any water. I can go into any networking room because I can refer you business. I can refer you business. You can refer me a business. We're not competing. So it's a rare situation. And it's also interesting because it's so nuanced. Like you're looked at as someone that knows the stuff, like the regulations, like how it's handled. It's not just, a contract. So I actually get hired by a lot of contract or just corporate business attorneys just because they're scared to kind of make that mistake and put something in a contract, like even commercial leases. So on the pharmacy side, the board of pharmacy, when you apply, looks for specific provisions in the lease or specific things that can be a violation of the law, like access, like the size, the space, like all these things. So commercial real estate attorneys also reach out to me when they're dealing with the medical business to kind of scan it for issues for any regulatories, kind of issues, for lack of a better term. I was thinking something creative wasn't coming.
No, there are a lot, especially for pharmacy, because there are regulations you need as far as the gate, to have a pharmacy within, the size of the actual
Exactly.
pharmacy, the size of the actual outside. It's like all, I remember because when I was
Taking
applying.
pictures of the basement, like the security system, what you can and
Exactly.
can't do, how many hours you're open, who can access, where the access points are. These are all things that the board of pharmacy really looks at.
Yeah, they do look at it and they make sure that you're in compliance before they even decide to
Right.
issue you any.
So I'm actually incredibly grateful for that first opportunity to, and they really, like, again, phenomenal attorneys where I learned just a ton. It was just, the goal was always work for myself, which even now I essentially am.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're in a firm, but you're kind of working on your own.
Correct.
So you have the best of both worlds.
I do. I
guess.
think I really do. Yeah. In terms of, people I'm looking for, I'm looking to help the medical space. That's providers, nursing homes, home health care, adult social daycares. I'm working on an audit right now for a social daycare where, because of something the driver did, Medicaid is asking for a lot of money back. So I'm coming in and saying, not today, Satan, not today.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's, with all these regulatory issues, they really try to nitpick and find anything that they can try to take money back or audit you or not continue services through you. So
one thing I will say, pharmacy benefit managers, that's in the pharmacy space that you're probably more familiar with, like they're vicious.
Yeah.
They are looking to put you out of business, and CVS Caremark wants the patients to go to CVS, not you.
Yeah.
Which is another.
That's probably why the biggest reson why I actually left pharmacy. I couldn't take these PBMs anymore.
Right. And so I love dealing with them. And you get friendly with, so if Caremark only had one lawyer for like the longest time, and we've gotten friendly. We saw each other at conferences.
Are you serious? Caremark had one lawyer?
One lawyer.
No.
I'm not. No, they still only have one lawyer.
Still?
Yeah. But just a different one. She's not the biggest fan of me because you know why? Because we haven't met in person.
Hold
on, let me just do one of these real quick. Right?
Very charming. That's true.
Someone tell my wife. But
he's very charming.
She knows. So yeah, it's one lawyer. and
It's
it's
hard
insane.
it's hard
So
to
that's
believe.
so the PBMs are very self-interested, but Medicaid and Medicare on like dealing with private practice and dealing with the ancillary services like PT and all that stuff, they hire auditors to go through the charts, and they incentivize them with findings. My whole thing is, if you incentivize someone to find something, they're going to find something.
Yeah, exactly.
So my job is to destroy the analysis that they did to say there's a finding. So what they like to do, I'm sorry, I'm getting technical here, but what they like to do is they'll say, oh, we're doing a random check of your charts, and we'd like to see these 5 patients. They know there's something
Going on particularly
with those 5 patients. And they're like, oh, look, out of everything we've looked at, out of your billing, 90% of it is inaccurate or wrong. Therefore, we can safely assume, based on the law, that everything is wrong for the last 3 years, pays back everything we've paid you for the last 3 years for every patient. And that's bankruptcy. That's millions of dollars that in some cases.
That's your business.
Right. And so that's where like a lot of value I add is come in and fight those things. And I think my biggest claim to fame was like $8 million overpayment determination, and we settled for like $30,000.
Wow.
So that was like my big.
And that's in the pharmacy?
No, this wasn't pharmacy. This was
in the private practice.
Yeah, private practice.
Wow, that's significant. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember back in my pharmacy days, the audits that we would get, the days that they would spend looking through all of my prescriptions. Back then we had like paper prescriptions.
Yeah. I mean, some people still do. Yeah, but now it's all electronic.
And he would just like go and nitpick and the dates and make sure. And it was like, I can't take this anymore. It was just too much.
The other problem is when they come to, well, there's desk audits, right? Where you just kind of like give them what they want.
Yeah.
And then there's audits where they come to the pharmacy. It just takes so much time of your day to like run your business. It's a massive drain, and they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like the more you're not working, the more the CVS across the street is.
It's interesting you say that, because I have noticed, I mean, I have friends who are doctors, and before law school, I used to work for a doctor. And one thing I've noticed is that a lot of like private individuals who work for themselves, who are solo practitioners, tend not to take Medicaid and Medicare because they don't want to deal with the hassle.
Correct.
So they send them to like the big clinics who take it.
Right. And the big clinics, again, you're talking about like Article 28s, right? So the Article 28s is again, also something I help with, but it's where lay people, because there's a need in the community and there's no medicinal help, sort of, the state gives this exception to allow non-medical people to operate medical businesses, which is a big no-no here. We have corporate practice and medicine laws. So anyone can own a pharmacy. You have to be a licensed medical professional to own a medical business in New York. So those guys can do it on scale. So the thing is, if you accept Medicaid, Medicare in New York City, there's a large, your patient population is much bigger. So that's why, people are able to do it on volume. At the end of the day, it's a business, and you need business people to operate business. So what, I don't know if you notice this trend of like private equity getting into the healthcare space.
Everything.
Right. And so how can they do that if they're not licensed doctors or medical professionals?
They hire medical professionals.
But they can't take a percentage, right? There's still corporate practice and medicine laws. So we structure something called the Management Service Organization. And, back in the day, they just call themselves a management company and they take percentage willy-nilly and give these fake invoices. And that's how I end up visiting some of my clients at Rikers. True story. Now the way you properly structure, there is a compliant way to structure an MSO to allow business people to do what they do and the medical professional to do what they do. I mean, I think that's important, because do you want your doctor focusing on the latest and greatest innovation in treating you? Or do you want them sitting, writing out charts, figuring out scheduling, dealing with payroll, dealing with all that stuff? Like, you're a business owner, like what it takes.
Yeah.
Like, you rather be practicing law, right?
I mean, I practice law.
Well, but you rather be focused on law versus all the other ancillary stuff. Same as me, right? That's what the firm was able to do for me. I think the same applies to medicine, and pharmacy. So in the pharmacy space, you have business people that can, essentially, what's the goal? Get the most prescriptions as possible in a compliant legal way. And the best way to do that is to operate a good business to reach more patients so that more patients are taken care of. If you're a pharmacist, you worry about the pharmacy, right? And making sure that you don't kill your patients, which, again, I've dealt with situations. So I don't know. I think it's good to allow business people into the space, because that just means more people are getting treated if it's done right. If it's done wrong and they're scheming and cutting corners, that's obviously a problem.
Which
So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're gonna go there and say, because I'm pretty sure you listen to the news, and you've seen, and given the fact that you deal with this, you've seen a lot of RICO charges against pharmacies, and something's always in the news with regards to pharmacists or medical providers as business people, right? Not necessarily the medical professional. So as a medical professional, or like myself as a licensed professional, I would always be worried about, somebody using my license, billing under me, because like you said, I'm so busy practicing that how do I know that the billing that's being done under me as the owner, facilitator, manager, whatever you want to call them, is doing it properly and not cutting corners or doing anything shady.
So there again, so ultimately the billing is still the ultimate check is still the responsibility of the professional. So you have to go through all your billing. You have to make sure they prepared for you. You go through it to make sure, like, yes, I treated this patient. Yes, I did this. Now the civil RICO stuff is actually particularly interesting because the government doesn't really go after you in the civil RICO. It's the car insurance companies that are big in New York that go after the medical professionals, right? Under the theory of insurance fraud and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how they end up in federal court. So again, oftentimes there's one particular law firm whose names won't be mentioned. It's like my arch nemesis.
I think I know. No, names won't be mentioned.
We're gonna be good here.
We are. And so they go after my clients just to put them out of business so that they don't have to pay. I mean, that's the only reason. So there is no fraud. And so I actually defend a lot of those civil RICO cases on the medical side, right? And so they accuse them of having runners and like all these other things that just either made up or not true. Sometimes they are, and that's when we settle.
Well, a lot of things are fictitious because they just need something to put in there, but
yeah, and it's our jobs to, like any other thing, like just destroy their case and see if we can get some counterclaims in.
But it's become, if you know that, I mean, I can't be the only one who notices. It's become so common and so much more than used to be in the future, in the past.
So I actually have a trigger on Westlaw every time there's a civil RICO case filed. Like I get a list of all the defendants.
You're kidding.
No, and then sometimes they're existing clients, so I reach out and then
hey, can I help you?
Do you need some help with this?
Existing clients, so I'm not violating any like attorney advertising. And then kind of write articles about it and kind of like trying to be that guy to defend those cases. So yes, there is an increase, and I get alerts about it. So sometimes my doctor clients also like sometimes before they do because I know when the suit is filed, they know when they get served.
Right, exactly.
But that also must be very frustrating, irrespective of how you're managing the place. Every single time, like you said, there's somebody who keeps coming after my client because they want to bankrupt them. It's like, so I'm practically working for free here half the time, because if they're not paying him and then they're paying you, which I'm sure you're very reasonably priced, but in general.
Depends who asks.
It depends on reasonable.
Depends who asks.
But I'm saying, like, think about it, right? You like constantly have to have you on payroll, because it's like if they keep coming after him, he's like, okay, in order to get paid, I got to get my lawyer so that he gets me paid.
Right. And it's incredibly infuriating. I've actually done a lot of lobbying in Albany with the Pharmacy Society of New York on the pharmacy side, right? Because the PBMs are trying to put them out of business to kind of get PBM regulations. And I'm happy to say that New York went fee-for-service under Medicaid. So on the Medicaid, at least you got rid of the PBMs. But yeah, on the civil RICO side, that's exactly what they're doing. And, it sucks. It sucks. And sometimes you try to strike back and then they settle, right? Because they don't want to create case law to, against their clients, especially one particular law firm, which again, we will refrain from mentioning. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating for sure.
So,
on the one side, it's like becomes kind of a parasitic relationship, right? Like, yes, I got a new case, but like, I don't want to put the clients out of business. I want it to keep operating. So, yes, it's work now, but long term, I'd rather do their mergers and acquisitions. I'd rather think of their exit strategy, who they're going to sell to. Like, yes, the litigation is profitable, no doubt about it, but I'm more long term focused, right? I want them to thrive. I want them to do good and do their compliance work versus like defending these things.
I recently had an old pharmacist, a colleague of mine who's working for a new independent pharmacy, reach out and tell me an interesting story that, they started out for a new startup, and a lot of the billing practices that were being handled, the pharmacist was not aware of at the time. So unfortunately, she came under scrutiny and now she's having issues. Have you dealt with situations like this?
Absolutely. I do a lot of the pharmacy and the medical license defense. So I've been in front of the OPD multiple times. Again, they sort of know me. So yeah, I mean, the reality is you are responsible for what goes under your name. I mean, unless you could show, and it's my job to show that you had no idea and throw somebody else under the bus, like the manager, the owner, the operator, it's ultimately on you. Like anything that comes out of you or anything that's dispensed and you're in it, you have to make sure you monitor that. Like it's very convenient and easy to just say, oh, great, I'm getting paid a lot of money not to show up. That's the risk.
Or I didn't know. Well, yeah, I mean, she's very diligent and she's an excellent worker, but now she's at risk potentially for losing her license. So
I mean, if it's, well, one, I hope she has insurance to cover that.
Yeah, she does.
Two, give her my information.
I actually will.
So yeah, I've handled those cases, and again, it's walking. It's like anything else, right? Like in the PI case you're working, I'm guessing when it goes to trial, it's walking through people that have no idea what you're talking about, of how your client is in the right and why it's the other side's fault versus the client's fault. I'm totally projecting what I think personal injury is like. I actually don't know. It's like the trial work in any case.
No, you're not far off.
Yeah, so that it's our job to make it as plain as possible that a 5-year-old will understand why there's no culpability and why this person should not lose their license.
Okay, and you do a lot of HIPAA compliance,
yes,
Stark, anti-kickback,
yes,
all that stuff. So this is all very important in the compliance field.
What most people don't realize, people like, again, medical professionals, when they partner with the lab or they get into a contract with the lab, laboratories also want to incentivize you to send them more business. So a lot of things I would put a stop to and I would catch is that, they say, oh, you send us 100 patients, it costs you X. You send us 200 patients, it costs you Y. 300 costs you Z. That's a kickback. That's an illegal kickback. Most people don't even think about it. So when contracting in the healthcare space, also, like, my job is to make sure that there's no kickback issues, so that you don't send, as a physical therapist, you don't send all your or NMP or somebody, you don't send all your ancillary work, your pharmacy work to your spouse. That's Stark. And that you stop using Gmail, because every Gmail that a medical professional sends is a HIPAA violation.
Really?
Gmail automatically reads, and there goes your patient privacy.
No, I didn't know this. Did you know this?
I heard about this recently, and apparently recently there was this whole thing on Instagram that I saw that not only do they read your anything you send through Gmail, like tax returns or anything like that, is all
it's all public record. Yeah, it's all that information.
If you get into public record information, if you don't have the proper settings,
yes, or if you don't pay for it. So you can have a Gmail that you pay for, because they are HIPAA compliant. There's HIPAA compliant packages you can purchase, but the free Gmail that people are using, I'm like, do not send any medical. So one instance that I had is that a patient was an HIV patient, right? And then there was some Gmail was being used to Gmail, and then all of a sudden you start getting ads for HIV pills. Where coworkers were passing by, you have HIV, why are you getting ads? And so that was completely inadvertent. That was a big to do.
Oh my God, I had no idea. This is so good to know.
Yeah. So don't send any medical charts over Gmail.
Or anything else that could possibly be private. Or
I try to exclusively use my firm email, just because we know that's compliant, that's regulated, that's,
Oh my gosh.
Well, anything that's you buy as a domain should be regulated.
Depends. Sometimes domains are free. It's all, you have to read the terms.
No, what if you're paying for it?
You have to read the terms of service, because some of them are not HIPAA compliant because they don't go to that nth degree to protect the information, how the data is stored, right? Because the data is sitting on a server somewhere. How is that data? Are they following all the regulations?
Wow.
And we as lawyers need to be able to point the finger at somebody and say, actually, it's not my fault, it's that person's fault. Yes. Right? Yeah. And so that's what you're buying. You're buying the finger pointing.
Wow, that's shocking.
More you know.
Yeah, well, this is definitely my enlightened moment. I'm gonna remove my Gmail right now.
I'm hoping you're not sending
it's just
charts.
No, it's just junk mail, but still, it's still.
Yeah, I don't use.
Clients send us mail from Gmail all the time.
Correct. Well, again, if there's no confidentiality, it's a non-issue. We're specifically talking about HIPAA, because HIPAA is fines. HIPAA is trouble. HIPAA is, business shutdown. That's why. Other nonsense things that you just, again, I always say, don't put anything in email you don't want to see in a billboard in Times Square. That comes out.
I should send some medical providers to you, because they send through Gmail medical records over
that would be very much appreciated.
Yeah. So they should be HIPAA compliant.
So tell us, you also do teaching.
Yes.
Which I find very interesting because I also did a little teaching for medical residents for Hofstra University. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So it's been a minute, I'll be honest, but I've partnered with sort of disability and malpractice insurance providers that, are invited to talk to residents and fellows. I would join them. I would talk to resident fellows. I had a friend in Staten Island University, that the medical center, and basically I come in and I tell them what to look out for their employment contracts, like what will limit their practice in the future. Obviously their salary and benefits, not. That's what's in the budget.
Right.
But the other terms, like where you can and can't practice, what your expectations are, what's the track to partnership, what kind of malpractice insurance they're providing. Is it claims made or occurrence based? I don't know if you guys know the difference there.
I know that when I was a pharmacist, I was told to get your own insurance because the pharmacy that you're working under will have insurance, but you should get your own malpractice insurance as well. So I don't know if that's the same for residents or doctors.
No. So usually a lot of times a practice will provide the coverage, but you need to understand what they're offering you, right? So claims made is saying that if a claim is made while you're paying for this insurance, while you're employed by this insurance, they'll cover it. But if your insurance is not being paid and the claim is made, remember the statute of limitation for med mal is 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So after you leave a practice, they stop paying for you and you get sued. The insurance is not going to cover you. That's where you have to purchase a tail coverage, right? The tail of when you leave to the expiration of statute of limitations. And then there's the occurrence base, which means that as long as when the incident occurred that you're being sued for, the insurance is paid up, no matter when you're sued, it's always covered. Mm-hmm. So you always want to push for the occurrence based.
So that's important. You're teaching them basically not so much as the medical aspect of their job, but the compliance and the regulatory issues that are really quite important, actually.
Yeah, and part of that, I also tell them to watch their billing, and because how to avoid audits or how to handle audits, or so I talk to them, and the idea, I'm not going to say this is my bleeding passion. I want to get clients.
Right.
I'm not going to pretend otherwise. So the idea is I help them with their first employment contract, and then I build on that relationship going forward.
That's smart business practice, because you're potentially getting a client for
exactly
for
life.
Yeah.
And the other problem is I love to talk, and this gives me an opportunity to talk to choose someone else's ear off other than my wife's. So.
Okay.
And I know my kids are tired.
Podcast. You'll have plenty to discuss.
Say it again.
You should think about a podcast.
I had a podcast. There's still some episodes up. It's called Healthcare, Legally Speaking. I thought that was particularly clever. But the big firm I was at asked me to put a pin in that, and then we are actually planning to restart in April at TKD. So
nice.
I'm excited about that. Love to have you guys on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Because there's a lot of issues, I think, that would be very beneficial for people to hear.
So my podcast idea was kind of have other folks in the professional space as guests, like you guys are doing, that touch on healthcare. So I had a matrimonial attorney on that we talked about, so when a doctor's going through a divorce, what happens if there's an overpayment termination? How does that impact Allenborn and things like that? If there's a malpractice, like all these things that impact, like
it would impact the spouse too, right? Exactly.
I had a mortgage broker on, my friend Gil, who's fantastic. We spoke about like different offerings to medical professionals and what happens in different scenarios of how they look at your liabilities of something else. So different packages available. And so, yeah, I had 3 episodes in before I was asked to put a pin in it. And then my other guest, which was awesome because it was in our Miami office. And so like the view was like beautiful view of the ocean and boats passing by in Brickell Bay. And nice. I got the most views on that one. I literally think that people just put on mute and watch the boats pass by.
Sometimes, listen, it's, the scenery does better than
Absolutely. Like, my old firm, like we had amazing office spaces. Like it was all gorgeous, beautiful. I mean, my Zoom background right now is my old office because it was just so nice.
Or even you should have a personal injury lawyer and saying how your personal injury claim against you can affect your spouse, your family.
So do I have my first guest? Is that my first guest back?
I think so. I think so. So tell us, I always ask all of our guests, there's always that one case, that one client that really sticks out and kind of like touches deep inside. Without giving names or getting too specific, can you tell us a little bit about a case that you had like that?
It doesn't have to be, it could be either good or bad. You don't have to.
So there's an array of situations where I've been involved and I've been crazy. I think not healthcare related, but like the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, and which is actually the coolest story. So I was having lunch. Again, this is when I ran my own shop, and I had an acquaintance that says, I need you right now. I'm in your office. I'm like, dude, I'm eating my salad. Like, what do you want? So he's like, no, I need to see you. I'm like, okay. So I go up, and they're, his relation, they're someone's cousin, anyway, was working for a movie studio, and there was an inmate in MCC, which is the federal lockup, and the movie studio wanted to do that person's life rights. And apparently they need a lawyer. The lawyer they had was somehow involved with something that they had to drop out. They couldn't go, and today was that day to go. That day was, so I'm like, all right, so what do you need me to do? He's like, we need to drop everything you're doing. You need to go to MCC as an attorney, visit this person, and get them to sign this contract. And they're already good. They're good to go. They're ready to sign. It's perfect. And I'm like, all right, but if I have to drop everything, that's going to cost you double.
Right. Exactly.
No problem. So I go to MCC. So they make you take everything. Like, MCC is closed, by the way. This was the federal holdup in Manhattan. So now only MDC is open, which is in Brooklyn, which I also spent a lot of time as an attorney, just to clarify that bit of information. So yeah, and again, no watch, no computer, nothing, pen, paper, no belt. And they sit through this attorney room. And I sat there, must have been for hours to get this guy's life rights. So apparently, what unbeknownst to me was that at that time, it was a family visiting day. They told me he's waiting for me and he's just good to go. You got to go in, sign, and leave. I'm like, all right, I can do that. So finally, they call him. When we turn this off, I'll tell you who it is, and it's fascinating. And then he basically is like, all right, who are you? What are you doing here? Or like, huh? So I had to like pitch and sell this whole thing to this guy. And then they're like, it was time to close up. And they're like, counselor, if you don't leave, you have to spend the night because we're going to do count. I'm like, okay, bye. So my client calls me afterwards, like, what did you do? He's every time like, you sons of so-and-so and so-and-so, you sent me there blind. Not in the, okay, can you go back tomorrow? I'm like, okay.
True, it's going to cost you triple.
No, I kept it at double. And then I got him to sign. He really thought it over, and then it was moving forward, and that was insane. And like, my wife was like pregnant with her second kid at the time, and like she couldn't find me, and so like the person who got me messaged her on Facebook because our Facebook friends say, hey, have you heard from Steve? And she's like, what do you mean, have I heard from Steve?
Is he okay? What have you done with
Have
Steve?
you heard from Steve? Like, well, last time it was like 1 p.m. He went inside the jail and hasn't come out. And so I got out like 8 o'clock, and I sat there for like I started like pen and paper. So I started writing out like, okay, what am I gonna do today? Okay, what am I gonna do this week? Okay, what am I gonna do this month? Okay, what are my goals for the year? Like, just kept writing and just like, what do you do? And so what's funny is like I go to the guards. I'm like,
Where is he?
What's going on? I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if my lawyer came to see me and I'm here, I'm seeing my lawyer. And I'm like, well, technically I'm not his lawyer. Well, you didn't go into that.
Well, you are for that day, right?
Not his, still.
Right. Wow.
So yeah, that's probably the craziest, not healthcare related.
Tell us the healthcare related one.
Craziest healthcare.
I'm sure you've had a lot of them.
I mean, probably the one I'm dedicated the most time is that $8 million overpayment termination I told you guys about, and that's the one I'm most proudest of because that's a big difference.
Yeah,
30,000 and $8 million. So I was particularly proud of that one. I deal with a lot of commercial litigation cases. So when you run your own firm, as you know, especially like a business firm, not all clients are healthcare. So I took on a lot of commercial litigation cases. I've dealt with some crazy stuff. I've dealt with people taking off their shirts in the judges' chambers to show my. I'm not gonna do the accent, but
no, do the accent. I don't want to hear
the accent. So guys like, my son had me stabbed here, therefore he also like this crazy stuff. I had attorneys on the same side of the V about to like fist fight in chambers. I mean, there's been some interesting stuff.
Wow.
There's been some interesting stuff. Another healthcare related one. I mean, my biggest thing is like keeping pharmacies operated. Like that's the biggest thing.
So, I mean, there has been a trend that pharmacies closing. There's been a lot of sentencing, unfortunately, in the community and outside of the community for fraud, for improper billing practices. It's how have you been managing with, has your influx been quite significantly?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more now, definitely an influx, considering the current administration is really investigating the fraud, the waste and abuse, considering, what happened in Minnesota. Now, Nick Shirley came out with another video from LA. And so like all the, I think it was, I can't forget which, I'm drawing a blank on, but basically it was a lot of the same kind of fraud for like centers that don't exist. I think it was hospice centers that don't exist.
Yeah, in Minnesota, I think it was daycare centers.
The Leering Center.
The Lear.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
But I won't be surprised if he starts, I was talking about this with another lawyer of my friend of mine the other day. Irrespective of the fraud that private citizens commit, I feel like if you go into the agencies themselves, city and state agencies, there's so much misuse, there's so much
100%.
abuse, there's so
100%.
much money being spent on you don't know what, and I won't be surprised if there's more fraud there than within private citizens.
No question, but there's no way to kind of investigate unless the federal government needs to investigate how Medicaid funds are being handled. It's not just the individuals, but so that's a long-winded way of saying that Medicaid has really been shut off for like new pharmacies can't get Medicare DME because the federal government has control over that.
Right.
And so they're really putting a microscope to it, which I guess there's pros and cons to everything. Pros, more clients.
Yeah.
Also pros, you get rid of all the shysters, right? Like all the shady people are kind of getting filtered out, and then you have operational, and then you have a path for clean business operations and people actually getting the treatment that they need without the funds being wasted. So there's pros to that. And the cons, of course, is a lot of innocent people. Maybe people that are doing right, they can't afford the best representation, are going to be put under that actually are patient first. And then they're being accused of things they're not responsible for. So the flip side of that coin is some good practices and some good companies are going to be put out of business because they maybe can't afford to fight, or they, the margins aren't there what they used to be, especially on Medicaid, Medicare reimbursements. So it's like everything in life, it's a balancing act. You don't know which way it's going to go.
Yeah, the reimbursement I hear right now is really bad. A lot of my pharmacy friends just left practice.
Yeah,
they just closed up shop and said goodbye.
The flip side of that, Medicaid went fee for service, right?
Yeah,
And so
a few years already now.
Yeah. And so the Medicaid heavy areas are not doing terribly.
Terrible, right?
Yeah, and then
if you have volume, it's still good.
Yeah, and that's good marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm sure there's going to be an unpopular opinion, but do you think there's a way to, given your background, to, I guess, somehow facilitate Medicaid and Medicare so that it's properly being run? Because I know it's a very unpopular opinion.
You mean on the government side?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, audit them. Like, audit them, fire people. Like, these people are untouchable.
I know, that's what bothers me too.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a New York City resident. All our taxes are going up, but for what? What are we getting in return? It's like, it's just, everyone looks at like, oh, we need more money. I'm like, figure out how to cut costs. Like, there's so much fraud, waste, abuse. Like, even then, like, how long has the Van Wyck been under construction?
Forever.
Since I've been in this country. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're charging $100 for nails and $300 for hammers. Like, it's ridiculous. And like all these, the kickbacks, I'm sure, are insane. So, yeah, they need auditing and like accountability because they're untouchable. It's the mafia. The government is the mafia.
Well, Elon Musk and Trump started to kind of like uncover some
and that went nowhere.
Yeah, that went
nowhere
real quick. It was in the news for like a day.
Yeah, I mean, look, what is it? Sunshine is the best disinfectant, right? There just needs to be transparency, seeing where it's going. Like, someone needs to be able to look, and people would need to be fired that are not doing the right thing. I mean, that's not a political stance. It's just bipartisan. Fraud
I agree.
should
you
be
start
stopped
from a local level
everywhere,
and you go all the way up to the federal. Start from the local level. Your cities, then the states,
municipalities.
But who would be responsible for this oversight? It would be
correct.
That's
who watches the watchmen?
Yeah, who exactly? That would be the next question. And
I'm not in politics. I do not have a solution to this quandary. And just trying to push what's right and defend people that are doing the right things.
No, absolutely, and it's an important job that you do. And I, for one, am really like honored because you do a lot. You do a lot. Actually, pharmacy law always interested me. I wanted to do pharmacy law initially, but I kind of ended up in the mental malpractice space, and I will say we're all where we need to be. Yes. So the life decisions are all, like, we're in a space where we thrive, and that's how I get to meet these awesome people here in front of me, and that's how paths cross, and everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's my opinion. Yeah, I worked for a big company who handled pharmaceutical companies, and they dealt with their litigation, so like Pfizer and Merck. And that's what interested me specifically in the pharmaceutical industry law. Do you have any clients that patent or want to do patents on any
Yes,
kind of devices?
the firm has a fantastic IP department. I guess I would be remiss. So we are a full service law firm. We have biggest practice groups. The most successful practice groups are labor employment, real estate, commercial litigation. Our IP group is very strong. Our bankruptcy group is very strong. We have tax, securities. I'm sure I missed a landlord tenant. We have a matrimonial practice, which is great.
I always get asked for landlord tenant. That's
Yeah, we have a very strong landlord tenant team.
Really? Okay.
It's a recent add to the firm, and they've just been like rock stars.
Oh, okay.
So
That's good to
yeah,
know.
we're happy to help. I'll
I
put
feel
you in
like
touch.
everyone's always asking me about landlord tenant.
Delicious.
Issues or
We're in
disputes,
New
yeah.
York City.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. But
especially
we're
now.
largely on the landlord side, as you can imagine. That's who will be able to pay the bills. I mean, that's just facts. And yeah, so why did I start talking about this?
So about you said IP.
IP, yeah. So we have a fantastic IP group that does patents, trademarks, trade secrets. Similarly, like tag teaming with our labor and employment group. So like you don't have employees stealing your IP, or you know what I mean, like people you hire, work for hire. Like all these things are covered. So we definitely work with a lot of stuff. So you go to our IP lawyers' offices, they have like crazy amount of toys and products and things and that, because like clients send them things to look at, and like medicine, like all this crazy stuff. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. And what about like now with this whole hacking? Everybody's hacking hospitals, providers. They're holding them ransom, asking them for Bitcoin.
Absolutely. That happened to my client, by the way.
Yeah.
Literally like locked it up in Bitcoin. So we have an awesome cybersecurity practice. Amy Goldsmith, my partner, she's amazing. And so we got it covered there. So when that happens to my clients, I go to Amy and her team. So
When I first heard about it, I said, "How they're holding all of your patients' records hostage? You can't access your CRM until you pay them like $1 million in Bitcoin." It sounds like something.
Not only that, even after you pay them, you're gonna get like, unless you have cybersecurity insurance, would highly recommend having cybersecurity insurance.
Yes.
If you don't have cybersecurity insurance, you have to know, like, there's so many things that you have to do that cost so much money that it can, like, even if you pay them, dealing with the regulations, that can bankrupt you as well.
Yeah.
So it's actually insane.
I learned that from my good friend Mike Koba. Shout out to
Mike Koba. Shout out to Mike Koba.
He's taught me a lot about cybersecurity insurance.
Another great guy in video, by the way.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have him next.
You should definitely have him.
Well,
Mike Koba is very marketable.
He's not a lawyer, but he deals with a lot of lawyer issues too. So
a lot of lawyer issues. Yeah, Mike's great.
So cybersecurity is huge. It was something so new with all this hacking, and most of the time these hackers are from overseas, and
Correct.
It's not even a guarantee.
Correct.
And the insurance companies have to work to try to. And
then the regulators get involved, and then
Yeah.
you have to notify everyone, and then you have to notify.
Everyone.
There's again.
Yeah, because there's
I
HIPAA
leave
involved
that
and-
to Amy and my firm, who was again fantastic.
So there's a lot of aspects you do. There's
Well, not me, right? The firm.
Right, the firm.
And like that's the other beautiful thing about being in a firm, right? Like I have so much capability of like
And
taking the clients
resources.
exactly, and taking the client from every little thing they can need, going public, like dealing in M&A, labor and employment things that I don't know labor and employment law. My partners do.
So labor
Associates
employment
do.
in the healthcare space or
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, we got everywhere. We had some pretty high level clients too that again I'm not going to discuss. But yeah.
Okay. All right. This is
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really extensive, and you're part of a bigger group. It's just
And
you.
I can happily say that, like, sometimes that, you get a lot of people, you're not going to like somebody. It's just a given. Have not come a person and I'm like, ugh, F that guy. Like there's no one in the firm like that. I know I'm like, I genuinely believe this. Like I love preaching about my firm because it really is. I'm also very grateful that they took me back. And so it's a fantastic place to work.
So are you still considering Florida?
Well, Florida was a serious consideration. My wife and I are only children. We have 3 girls. And then I had the taste of what it's like to be living in Florida without either parents involved, because right now they're walking distance. Well, not really walking, but like, 5-minute drive.
Right.
And so I was stuck in the office. One kid needed to be in one place, another kid needed to be in another place. Somebody needed to be with the baby. And then like, my parents jumped in, my wife's parents jumped in, like the grandparents are always there. We're not competing because again, we're the only children.
Right.
And so I just thought about like, what would I do if I was in Florida? Like,
You'd have to take them with you.
I mean, I'd have to drop everything I'm doing and do that. And like, yeah, why don't you just hire a nanny, right? That's the common theme. But like people in Florida are like, at least in my experience and people I've hired, we had an office in Miami, and like just hiring people to do like the simplest things like put a TV in was a nightmare. So like you can't rely on
They're very they're slower. Let's put it that way.
They're
Island time.
They take their time.
I heard they're on island time.
I'm not gonna say anything because I still like. Ultimately, I will be moving to Florida. It's becoming more and more New York-esque. I mean, they say it's the southernmost part of New York, Miami, right? It's the sixth borough.
Well, you see that a lot more now, especially after the recent election.
After COVID, the recent elections, the mass exodus.
Yes, you have a lot more, the rich, as they call it, and more even middle class one leaving here because they are very concerned about what's going to happen and
affordability, which our mayor was
right
poaching on quite extensively,
but making it significantly worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I got a taste of freedom. That was Florida, which is how I was the proudest New Yorker until 2019. Like this was my home. I was so proud of the city. It was the best city in the world. Nobody could tell me otherwise. Until it wasn't. I'll just leave it at that. And then we we have a place in Hallandale Beach. I got an email saying we're opening the beach, we're opening the pool. This was like May of 2020. And I'm like, pack the car, we out of here. Because we were still scared to get on the plane. And so we told the parents, we'll be gone for 2 weeks.
It turned out
6 months later.
6 months later.
And I'm just like, you want to go home? Like, no. Because literally, I drive there and then we're out in a restaurant and we're hanging out. We're sitting by the water.
Without a mask.
No one's crazy without a mask. Oh my God.
Different world, right?
Yeah. And it was just and then going out at night and all these things. And I'm just
so that's really the only reason why is because your family's here.
Yes.
But otherwise your job is easily, you can pick up your laptop and work easily from there.
Exactly. I could work from the moon if they have Wi-Fi. Well, not true, because they still require court appearances. I mean, with clients, a lot of it's less so now virtual. I think most of the stuff is in person, especially in federal court. So yeah, I mean, I would love to move to Florida, but if we can all just kind of pick up and all move together.
Yeah.
And my grandmother's 98 years old, God bless her, knock on wood. So that's
easy,
not a person that's going to be moving.
Yeah. Tell us how I have a lot of our youth asking us, how's AI changing the landscape in law in your industry? How do you see it changing?
AI is awesome. Because I do like it. Because you could do a lot more with a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you have to have integrated system where you can't just use ChatGPT and start putting client information in because it's a breach of confidentiality. Same problem with Google. You can't do that. But if you have an environment inside, which we do, with kind of the AI, it's it crunches. You could client costs go down because you could do so much more with less time. And your ability to generate more revenue goes up because you're able to spend time on better things, and the results are exponential. It's really just I don't fully rely on it for research because it makes things up.
Yeah.
Even with less law, it's not the best in my experience. We have the co-counsel feature, but it just saves so much time on several things, and you could just do so much more.
So
when your arguments become so much better.
Yeah, but for lawyers who want to go, potential lawyers want to go to law school, they're saying, is AI going to really affect the job market? Do you think so?
I think law schools need to change to take into that account because we need to be able. So AI can easily replace a first-year associate right now.
Yeah.
Very easily. What we need to do is train the law school students and how to use the AI to become that next level, to know how to prompt, to know what it is. And I think the biggest one good thing about New York Law School was they really pushed for it hands-on, so they were very good at externships and things like that. So I actually externed while working at Citi at a stock fraud law firm. So I had to be Chinese walled out of anything related to Citi. So I think that really helped me get the experience. So I think experience hands-on is the way to do it. And be it for credit, because I don't know, no one should be working for free, right? But at the same time, why would I pay you to teach you when you should be paying me to teach you, right? Not that I'm so great or I should be paid for it, but you know what I mean? Why am I, you know what I mean? So there has to be, the model has to change.
That's what most of the law people, let me rephrase that. Most of the students right now that are in law school, actually say this, how did you guys just work for free? I'm like, sorry? They're I'm like, if I'm asking to be taught and trained by somebody. Why would they pay me for knowing nothing? I have to eventually learn, and and I'm like, you're better doing it now for like what, a 2-3 month period, and getting as much as you can so that later on you're able to use those skills and get paid what you need to get paid. But it's a very hard concept for them to grasp, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, look, I came to the country, I was 7 years old. I know what it's like to live with a lot of people in one room. I never want to be there again. And therefore, I was willing to do whatever it took and kind of have that understanding. I don't think there's the same hunger. I mean, not all, but some. And it's the product right now at a law school for this kind of mentality is not the best attorney. So it's harder. I don't know. I haven't hired a first year in forever. So it's hard for me to say. Luckily, the firm deals with that.
We briefly touched earlier on the fees scheduling for PI lawyers. We do work on contingency. You said, you work on retainer. How has it been difficult to recover money or?
One of my favorite things. No, I really hate asking people for money, but it's part of the game. The business, right? So we take a retainer up front, and then we hopefully keep that, call it evergreen retainer, and then you bill hourly, and then you ask clients to pay for it.
Right.
That time that you spent. And then the client's like, did it really take you that long to write that letter? Did you really research that?
Have you ever had a client like dispute or wanted to put in a dispute, or have you most of the time were able to work it out with them?
It's depends on the person. Sometimes the client just doesn't have it, right? And then they have to do something crazy, and I had a client ask me to deposit $100,000 in cash, and we're like, we can't do that. We just can't. He's like, what do you mean? I have this cash. It's cash. It's good money. I'm like, yeah, but it's $100,000. Yeah. He's like, why just put it in the bank? It's like, I can't put it in the bank. I'm like, well, you think I can? So we had to figure that out, and then they figured it out, and we just ACH'd it in. So however they figured it out, they figured it out. But we have to be compliant. We're a big firm, mid-sized firm. So that was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I had to do a 3-week trial for free once, because it wasn't the client's fault. The client is like, look, I have enough to take to summary judgment. If we lose on summary judgment, then whatever, I'll just take it to fault. And, so I'm like, all right. So we went to summary judgment. We lost in summary judgment, wrongly, I believe. I think the judge was biased against my client. I moved to withdraw from the case, and the judge wouldn't let me off the case. I started in Article 78 in the appellate department. And when that happens, the attorney general hires attorneys to represent the judge. So I was going against the AG's office to let me off this case. Wow. Still wouldn't let me off this case. And so the judge then recused himself. I had another judge, and that judge is like, sees my client's like, this is it. The jig is up, sir. The jig is up. So that's completely unbiased, right? And
right.
He just goes to my client, the jig is up, sir. I'm like, what jig? There's no jig. And so I'm like, I've made a motion to withdraw. I'll make another motion to withdraw as counsel. And so he's like, sorry, counselor, you're in. I'm like, well, what if I just sit here? And he's like, you probably get sued for malpractice. I'm like, well, what if I don't show up? He's like, I'll bring you in here in handcuffs.
Oh my God.
So 3-week trial completely for free,
which
we won, by the way.
I was going to say, did you win?
We won. And then the judge made it sound like, okay, you can, I mean, I had him. It was one of those movie moments where it was a commercial aviation case. So one thing, I mean, I could write a movie about this trial. So both lawyers, both parties spoke Russian, but not well enough for the record. So there was an interpreter. So the judge let me off representing the client individually, but I still have to represent his companies. So the client represented himself. So everything that was said had to go through the translator for the record. So anytime someone would testify, anytime I would make an argument, anytime someone would yell objection. And what was fascinating is both sides just really did not like each other, neither the parties nor the attorneys. And the only thing we agreed on was that the translator wasn't translating properly. Yeah. Usually translator took personally and would start arguing with us and start arguing with the judge. It was comical.
I love those cases.
Was
we get that all the time.
The translators that make up these translations in their mind.
He's like, sir, I'm a professor of English. How dare you?
Yeah.
So you know what I have to say, and I've actually, it's so interesting because I've always wondered that this was in federal court, right? You're saying?
No, this is state court, Richmond County.
Okay, so state court.
Richmond County Supreme.
Now think about this. This is like the guy's business on the line and all his, I guess if he's representing himself personally, probably he also has a lot to lose personally as well. And if the translator is not translated correctly, how do you know that I could only imagine. Maybe you should write this.
So, and then the best part is, so it was like a contractor dispute, and basically like the client was claiming that there was a bunch of negligence and fraud and the blah, 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 blah. And so the best part was like her general contractor comes out and like Patek Philippe watch, and like he clearly, the gentleman does well. And he's like, oh yeah, these are like my pictures. These are my guys. Find all this negligence. Look at my guys digging up all this stuff. I'm like, those are your guys? He's like, yeah. I'm like, in February? Yeah. In Staten Island? Yeah. What are you, stupid? And I'm like, Staten Island's awfully green for February. And then I brought a whole thing. So he used my guy's pictures, and it was my guy's people that were just basically lied and made the whole thing up. And that kind of like blew the whole thing out of proportion.
Wow.
My client goes to the other side. He's like, I finally got you. You can pay me right now and I'll let you go or watch what's going to happen to you. She's like, he's threatening my life. And so like, so then she comes in, the attorney comes in, he's like, he threatened my life, he threatened my client. My client's already taken off his watch, gave me his cell phone, gave me the wife's number, and was like, already be taken away. Like, you see like all the court officers come into the courtroom, and he's like, counsel, were you present? I'm like, I was present. That's not what happened.
Wow. Crazy stories.
Yes.
Oh, you heard a lot of them.
I do. That was a fun, but 3 weeks not getting paid, and 3 weeks other clients were yelling at me like, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff?
Did you get paid later on after you won the trial?
No.
So
the judge made it sound like because it was clearly so much like fraud on their side and like lying on their oath, there was like contempt issues. He's like, make a motion for fees. I wrote like a 90-page memo on why I should be entitled to legal fees, which was like $120,000 at that point. And the judge is like, let that be a lesson, counselor. Don't be the third lawyer in a case. Deny my fees. Because she could afford the fees. My client couldn't. Like, still just out there.
Oh my God.
Sorry, that had to hurt.
Did you get any referrals out of it?
No.
That would have been.
I got some free plumbing work out of it.
All right, listen.
Okay. Plumbing's expensive.
I got great plumbers. No. But yes, plumbing is expensive. It's like that joke, right? I'm a little off topic here, but like there's a guy, he had his basement flood. Apologies if you heard this. This guy had his basement flood. He calls the plumber. Plumber comes in, pumps it out. Half an hour later, comes out, gives him a bill for $2,000. Guy's looking at the bill. Is like, I'm a lawyer to make this kind of money. Plumber's looking at him. I know when I was a lawyer, I didn't make this kind of money either.
I believe it.
And there you go.
Wow, I really enjoyed this podcast. I think
thank
it's
you
very
guys.
enlightening.
Again, any opportunity to talk, I will take it. And so I apologize for dominating this conversation.
It was quite fascinating. Actually, I love it when we have guests that I can learn a lot from, because even though we're lawyers, we don't know all the aspects of law, and there's so many different ones. Even though I'm also a healthcare professional, it's just I always take.
Also very cool.
Yeah, I take a lot of interest in when there's medical and law involved. So I want to say thank you so much for coming down today. And we're gonna put your link. We can put your company link, your information, if you want your Instagram or whatever you have, if it's okay with your company.
It's okay.
We'll put it in, and
we'll also put in when his podcast comes back up.
Yes,
link to his podcast. I'm sure everybody would love to continue listening to you, because we definitely, like Margarita said, we learned a lot. And besides the interesting stories that we heard, we actually learned some interesting legal issues that we should all be aware of.
There you
go.
So
thank you for joining us today, and thank you for everybody for joining us. Please leave any comments, any questions in the comment section, and we'll respond to you. Thank you.